Hello, St. Paul, Old Saybrook. How are you today? Pastor Jeff asked me to provide a little video clip on something, and I don't remember what it was. But I have a vague recollection that it has to do with generosity and the New England Synod. So if you don't know, my name's Jim Hazelwood. I serve as the Bishop of the New England Synod. I live about an hour and 5-10 minutes north of you, up 95. So first, generosity. I have always maintained, and my wife confirms it, and my son confirms it, and my grandchildren confirms it, that I am a much more pleasant person to be around when I'm being generous, as opposed to when I'm being self-obsessed, thinking I'm the most important person in the world, thinking that I have all the answers. For some reason, they don't respond very well to that. But when I am generous with my heart, with my eyes, with my ears, and when I am paying attention to them, they want to be around me. When I'm generous with who I am. That also goes for money, for our generosity in terms of our checks that we write or online payments and gifts that we make to our congregations. You see, money is more than just dollars and numbers and actually now computer digits. It's a relationship. It actually establishes a relationship between you and the church, between you and God, between you and other people. We have a market nearby. The people that run it are from, I think, Somalia. And I go in there periodically to buy something, and I have conversations with them. And you know what? Without money, money forces me to go to the market because there are things I need, but then over time that happens to result in a relationship being established. So money is a connector. Now, your funds from your congregation, I don't know how much it is, but annually your congregation gives mission support to the New England Synod. That connects you on a spiritual, psychological, emotional, relational level with the work of the New England Synod. So what do? I'm not going to go through the long list, but what we primarily do is we help congregations be effective in their ministry. And that takes, there's 177 congregations in the New England Synod. It takes 177 different forms. I remember years ago, I came and I did a stewardship workshop for you at St. Paul in Old Saybrook. And then I remember last year, Pastor Jeff had me when my book, Everyday Spirituality, came up. I remember being at the call vote for your pastor. So there's all these ways that money is money, but money, more importantly, is a connecting tool. It connects you with a lot of different people in your life. And so I don't know if this is what Pastor Jeff wanted me to talk about, but that's what I'm talking about today. God bless you. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for your ministry in your community and, by the way, actually throughout the world. God bless. Peace.
Hi, I'm Marcia Young, member of St. Paul Lutheran Church for a very long time, since the early 80s. I actually needed to find a Lutheran church because it was very important to me. And when I walked in, I felt a warm church. I needed to be here. I actually joined the choir before I joined the church, before I even transferred my membership. And I couldn't wait to call my mom and tell her that I found a church that needed me, because I came from a big Lutheran church, and I felt warm being here. I loved having the opportunity to work outside my church. The church has given me an opportunity to work in my community, work with children, work with United Christian Women, serving dinners, soup kitchens, gift-giving programs through the Youth and Family. Those are opportunities that I wouldn't have had before. I've always enjoyed being on council and members of the worship committee, and being on altar has been a very big part of my life. And those are things that I've always wanted to share with others. I have witnessed to others. There's a few members of the church here that I brought in because they saw the faith in me, and that's been very important to me. And I raised my son here, my parents were here. It was important that I share my faith and my time here with them as well. So thank you, church, very much for giving me this opportunity, and thanks again.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charles Brown, for those that might not know me. I've been a member of St. Paul for quite a while. When I first joined here, we took up a lot more room than just myself, because I had my family would come to church. And unfortunately, I lost my wife a few years back, and my children have moved on to their lives, so I'm kind of here by myself. And it's been a different situation, but I still feel like I have a family here because I have the church, and this church has really meant a lot to me in that regard. We all have things in our lives that are important to us. Maybe our work, our families, our outside activities. But is important. This most important thing in my life is this church, because it really keeps me founded. As much as I enjoy what I do, and I do enjoy my work, and I love my family, and I know that they're going to be there for me when I need them, and I now have a granddaughter, so there's a lot to look forward to. I still need to have some kind of foundation with me every single day, and I'm also very fortunate that I live very close to the church, so I can be here quite often whenever it's needed. Although in this current time, we haven't been able to be physically present here in the church as much as we'd want to be. So it's really been a solid, I think back to, Christ being the cornerstone of the church, or Paul, or whatever that goes. But really, you need some foundation, you need some basis in your life to be able to evaluate everything else that comes your way. And being a Christian and being in this church has given me a perspective that says, yes, you know what, life is full of troubles, full of difficulties, but full of joy as well. And with the church, that's always been very important with me. So I encourage everyone to look into their relationship to the church and realize, how much of importance it has in their lives. And thank you.
Good. I've been asked to tell you a little bit about what St. Paul Lutheran Church means to me. And so I've put a few things down in notes so I would remember some of those. And the most important thing for me to say is that my church is one of the most important things in my life. I think it's really important to be connected to a body of believers, to come together and worship God, to be reminded of what we're here for, our purpose in life. We learn a lot, we share what we know, sermons and songs and studies, all those things just build us up, and I think that's just so very, very important. It reminds us that we're here to serve as well, and I think of just some of the things that we do as a church, whether it's homework club or the soup kitchens, whether it's going to New Haven and all the connections we've made there. There are so many ways that we just try to help those around us, and I think that's very important. I think it's also important to be part of the larger church, to be part of the ELCA, so that when our contributions are pulled together and sent off, they can do amazing things. Feed the hungry, clothe those who need it, just to do good near and far. And I think that that's a very positive thing. I have a tiny story that has been meaningful to me, and it was something that happened quite a long time ago. My sister and I were talking, and she had told me about this face cream many, many, many decades ago. And at one point, for some reason, it came up, and she said, "Carol, how did you remember the name of that?" And I said, "Well, because I use it every day." And I guess that's what I think about church. Being here on a regular basis reminds us and keeps us in mind of what we're here for, of who we are in God's kingdom, and who we are called to be in sharing our faith with one another. And so St. Paul is a place that I find very conducive to all those things. And I'm very, very thankful for St. Paul. I love my church.
Good morning. As many of you know, my name is Joe Sinabaldo, and I wanted to talk to you about what St. Paul means to me. When we first moved here, I went to church because it was the thing to do. I believed in God and Jesus Christ. I prayed before meals and celebrated the holidays. But this congregation has shown me there is much more to being a Christian than that. I've gained a whole new relationship with God because of the experiences I've had here and the people I've met. In 2016, I went on my first mission trip, and with my peers and a few leaders, we traveled to Brooklyn. At this trip, I saw many other churches there to help the community, and that's when I realized God's work is bigger than all of us. St. Paul was able to give me that experience to open my eyes. What I also love about this church is the diversity of age. Getting to interact and grow relationships with people of any age has been a really great experience, and it is something I wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. The first person I met here was Jack Martin. He was 94 and saw me looking at his red Corvette the first day we came. He offered me a ride. He told me how unique this church was and the love that surrounds everyone. He showed me different places in Old Saybrook where he and his wife would see God. I really missed the in-person church during the shutdown, and it's great to be back, and I'm sure you all feel the same way. My dad wanted me to make sure I mentioned to you today that this week you should be getting a letter, if you did not already, that has this year's pledge card in it. All of us make St. Paul happen, not just by getting together like we are now, but by helping others and through our financial generosity. Please think about how you plan to support St. Paul in the next year and return your pledge card by November 7th. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
You want to tell him, or should I tell him? I can tell him. All right, well, you may have noticed during the sermon that little Chad here got loose. She's usually getting loose. I think maybe she is just taking the freedom that we have to not be shackled anymore by all the things that hold us back. So she is trying to live into that vocation of being loved and loving others. With that, I want to share with you, this week you're going to get a letter in the mail, if you haven't received it already, from us. And it's going to contain a letter. It'll also contain a giving calculator, and it'll also show a little bit about the finances of the church, and it will be an invitation with a pledge card for you to think about your giving for next year. So I hope, in light of all the stories we've been sharing, not just in the sermons, but also from our people and the bishop today, so thank you to Bishop Hazelwood for sharing, that this is what love looks like as we live our lives together. So I hope you take this under consideration and prayerfully think about how you might be generous in this coming year with your congregation, with St. Paul. And I hope that you will fill out one of those pledge cards and return it to the church by November 7th, whether you do it in person or through the mail or tell us electronically. All of that is wonderful. So I thank you for that generosity and the love that we can share collectively together through your efforts. So thank you so much, and God bless.